today we're going to be doing a whole bunch of rolling around on the floor, but also just laying on the floor. And what I've got to start with is a spinal strip. If you don't have a spinal strip, you can use something like a rolled mat or a folded towel or a blanket. You're also going to need a strap, and something that I call and that I use is called a felt pad. You probably don't have one of these if you haven't got one from me. If you don't have one of these, then a blanket is going to be fine, okay? Or another rolled mat. You'll also need something for underneath your head. So whether that is a pillow or some blocks or anything you can put into your head, okay? So this should be kind of fun. We're going to start off with some very specific, like here's how you move through your body. It's also settling, some breathing, some just reconnecting, and then we're going to roll around. And the rolling around is going to be a lot of fun. So we're probably not going to come up to standing today. So if you're looking for a standing practice and really getting stronger in your legs the way I like to with taking weight out of your hands, this is not going to be the practice that you want. If you want to have a little fun reconnecting on the floor and rolling about on the floor, this is going to be fun. Ready? Okay, so what we're going to start with, let me move my props to the side. Okay, so what we're going to start with is this spinal strip. Now, like I said, this is a foam strip. If you are interested in them, we have them in our store. You can also use a rolled mat. Rolled mat's not quite as firm as you can see, right? Like there's this, and then there's this, right? Like this is just a lot squishier, but it's fine. It works. It works even if you have a pool noodle lying around, if you're someone who has pool noodles lying around. Before I used a foam strip, I used a pool noodle, so that works as well. Okay, so let's start here. You're going to take this folded strip, and you're going to place it right, for women, it's right about the bra strap, and have your buckled strap handy. And for anyone who's not wearing a bra, then it's just right opposite the bottom of your breastbone. So it's the area of about T7, T8. That's where it's going to be, right there, okay? Now, we're going to take this strap here. We're just going to have it handy. I'm going to take a moment and just walk you through some settling and some relaxation. And let me just adjust that. And all I want, whatever you're on, whether you're on the floor, whether you are on a strip or a pool noodle or a rolled blanket or whatever you're on, just easy breathe. The thing that's so nice about this setup is it's a very gentle back bend, right? And the firmness of the foam doesn't have give, and so you can just settle into it, and your whole body, like this part from your shoulders, it just comes off of that spinal strip. Now, that might, if you're using this and you haven't used it for a while, you might find that your neck and your jaw might get a bit sore. So if that's the case, just come off of it. It's obviously it's not right for you now, yeah? Many of you will just be like, oh yeah, that feels good. Like I'm doing. So now here, let's just take a few breaths and just let yourself sink, whether you're on the floor, whether you're on the strip, just sink into it. Let your head sink onto the strip. And let your eyes become heavy. And just check in with your breath. Okay, so now let's grab the strap. And take your arms on the strap about shoulder width apart and raise and lower shoulders. So really what's happening here, you can probably see my blade. My blade's moving away. So I'm not overusing up here through here. So this is the complex that's moving. So it's not our neck and our head. It's not our rib cage. It's just our arm. That's our blades that are moving on the ribs right now. And the hands lift up. Okay. Now we're going to take the arms over the head. Do your best to move in your click and clunk free range of motion. Notice your elbows. So the movement is around your shoulder joint. Your elbows ought not to be bending. So whatever the angle is at the elbow as you move, allow that to be the same. So if you're needing to come here and then bend your elbows or hyperextend your elbows, that's an indication you're not moving as well through your shoulder joint. So only go as far as that's happening through your shoulder joint. Okay, and then let that come down, strap to the side. If you're on the spinal strip, come on off, and let that go to the side, and just lie here and breathe. Bring your hands to the sky, find your right or the left thumb and index finger, and then find the right one, and you're going to touch the two of them together. And you're going to take the arms wide. And again, look at the elbows. The elbows ought not to be straightening. So whatever angle they started at is where they stay. All right, lovely. Okay, and last one. Rest your hands on your belly now. Easy, easy, easy breath. You're going to roll over, and I want you to find a pillow or a blanket for underneath your head. And we're going to come onto your side. And you want to have enough support so that, you see how, ideally we want the head to be in the same line as the rest of the spine. Yeah. So I'm going to just make this a little bit more for my head. No, it's a little too high. Let's do this. Okay, that's better. It's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is this arm, I've got both my hands out here. And this top hand is going to reach forward and back. And what we're going to do is, much like you were just doing when you were lying on your back, it's the same movement. Now it's just in a different plane. Now what I want you to watch for here is that you're not doing that. That is a movement, but I just don't want you to do it this one. I want you to pay attention to your blade and your shoulder, and can those move on the rib cage? And you'll discover something about whether you want to kind of lift up and move it forward, or come down and move it forward. And I don't want you to do either of those things. Okay? Just see what you've got there in terms of movement. And then from here, what I want you to do is to take that arm up to the sky, and then you're going to slowly take yourself into a twist. Now here's what's interesting. Okay, this is a little bit, still a bit high for my head. Okay, we'll just work with this. Okay, so here's what's interesting, is that here, lots of people will now move into the twist by doing it at their shoulder. But as we know, twists occur between the ribs and the pelvis, right? The energy is coming from the obliques. So I want you to control, as you go with gravity, I want you to control the movement through your abdomen. Not that you have to hold the abdomen hard, but I want you to keep this guy here, I want you to keep him where the angle is there. So not breaking that angle. Because the other thing here is that you've got this myofascial line between your chest and your arm, right? That connects your arm to your torso. So we don't want to go breaking that line in this movement. So keep that connected as you move. And then come back up. Now do your best. Your pelvis will move a little bit, but do your best not to have your whole pelvis go with it. Okay? So think that it's the rib cage doing the movement. Okay, good. Now from here, you're going to take the arm up alongside the ear, and then you're going to bring it down. Nice. Okay. Then you're going to come up, and then you're going to rotate through your torso, and then come around. All right, let me show that to you again. So here we've raised the arm up through that shoulder joint. Now we're going to twist through the rib cage to the point where you stop the twist. Now we move that arm right around in a circle. Really pay attention to rib movement and pelvis. There are a lot of compensatory patterns that are available in our body. Like we can come up with gazillions of ways of moving. But I will say that this rib to pelvis connection or disconnection is so important to reconnect. Because so often when people think about core, they think about their abdomen, which is not entirely wrong. It's just not the full picture. But those who do, they focus a lot on working their abdomen. But a lot of times if they're disconnected between their ribs and their pelvis, which is where the abdomen is, they'll end up doing a ton of bracing up and through their rib cage and in through their pelvic floor. Okay, now take that away. And we see that a lot with women who are recovering after they've had their babies. Okay, so now just lie back here and notice what you feel. We're going to go to the other side in just a moment. Okay, let's grab a blanket for the other side. And it's super interesting. And I noticed it even in my recovery after my twins. And when I was working with Megan, who's a physiotherapist and a Pilates person, like it was something that she really noticed too. So let me make sure my mic's not completely there. Okay. So we're going to start by bringing the arms forward and this way. So watch, it's my shoulder that's doing the movement. Now you can see that this is coming along for the ride, but the difference is I'm not doing this. Yeah, I'm not doing that motion. So I'm moving my arm forward and my blade forward, but this isn't happening. This is a movement. I'm just asking you not to do that particular movement right now. Okay, so you're noticing and can kind of connect with. Is your blade moving on your rib cage or not? Okay, and then come on up. Okay, now from here, watch the twisting. And so as you come up out of the movement, your abdomen, kind of think, see if you notice my hand, your abdomen is helping pull you around. Now my arm's gonna come off screen as I do this next one, right? As we take it up. But we're gonna circle around. You can see my joint here. That's the focus. And now the twisting comes from my rib cage to my pelvis as the arm comes around. Arm moves up to the ear, and then we come around. Okay, lovely. And then take that. Okay, so now from here, we're going to move into a side bend. And this is where this felt pad comes in, but you can also use your blanket or you can use a rolled mat. The idea is if you can make this firm enough, it's super great. Like whatever prop you use, if it can be firm, because this doesn't have a whole lot of give to it, which then enables when we're going to put it on the side bend, it can do lots of yummy stuff through to your torso. Okay, so we're going to come here. And we're placing it right along this area. But as you'll notice, as I lie onto it, things that will likely change a little bit. So using the nipple line isn't quite the greatest cue, because that might change depending on this area of your body. Okay, so now I want you to notice something. The movement is a side bend over top of this. So we want the side bend to happen, and watch my ribs. We don't want, like, see how I can do this motion here, right? And so someone can just kind of go whoop and drop down. I want you to think that there's this piece of gauze that is lengthening, and I don't like the term lengthening at all because people don't really feel like the idea of lengthening. But the idea is that you're not just hinging here, but all the tissue over here is releasing. Yeah? And you might not feel the release per se. And then if what you're putting under your head is too high, then just don't drop your head down. See if you can lengthen through this side. And you're not actively lengthening. It's lengthening because that's where you're moving. Okay, now I'm actually going to put this under. Even though it's a bit too high, for where I'm feeling this morning, that's where I'm going to be. Okay? All right, so then you can get a sense that this is where I'm at. Yeah? Okay, so now here, if you find that whatever you're laying on is too much, then just make it smaller. Okay? And then what you can also do is you can take your hands to the side of your ribs. Easily breathe. Directing your breath without increasing the volume, directing your breath to the sides of your ribs. Okay, and then the arm's going to come over your head if you want it to. You can rest your hand on a bolster or a chair or on the floor. Or you can just rest it back here. Okay. Let's come off of this side and lie on to your back. And notice if there's any distinction between your left and your right side. go the other side. I'll flip around. Okay, so here we are. So easily breathing. And like I said, you can use a blanket. One of the things that does happen when people lie over a prop like this is that instead of coming straight, so if they come down, instead of coming straight to the side, they sort of lean forward or they roll back so their shoulder comes under. See if you can actually make the movement right in this plane of motion. Yeah, so it's right in this plane. All right, lovely. I have another 5 more breaths. Okay, lovely. Perfect. Okay. And then come on off. And then lie on your back. Okay, so now this is where we start to get into a little bit of fun. So I'm just going to move some of these props that are off screen but are in my way. Move those away. Okay, so where we're going to go to next is you're going to lie on to your belly. Now my head's going to be cut off because I want you to take a focus on my hip here. Okay, and you're going to raise and lower your leg bone here. Okay, now what's important here is that your hamstrings, your glutes, and your back are all involved in this. But what I don't want you to do is just kind of use your back to lift your leg. I'm exaggerating this, but I really want you to focus in on your hip doing the movement here. Okay? So it's your glute is helping to lift that leg. And so you can place your hand at the gluteal fold and lift that leg. Okay? So that's where I want you to focus. So I'm going to do it like so. Okay, so you can see that. The two fronts of my pelvis, one sec here. Teaching moment here. Okay, so the two fronts of my points, the ASIS, they're flat on the ground if you can. Okay, don't try and tuck or tilt your pelvis to make it happen. But ultimately, that's what we want to be helping to cultivate, is those 2 points on the ground, so that you have all 3 points, your pubic bone and your 2 ASISs. Those are the 2 pokey points here, and your pubic bone. They're all on the floor. Okay, so you're here, and you're just lifting that leg, but the pelvis is staying the same, right? So the pelvis isn't tilting forward or back to do that. All right, so here's where it starts to become fun. You're going to lift this leg. You're going to move that leg across your body. And then you're going to start to take a twist like this. Okay? Now, what can sometimes happen for people who have a tendency towards SI and back stuff is your coordination likely is going to be a bit off. And you could probably feel this in your back and your SI. We don't want to do that. So we're going to see if we can help you get better coordination through these parts. So you're going to be here. You're going to lift that leg. Really pay attention. Can you bring that leg across your body? Right? So the leg lifts in the joint here. Now the joint moves that leg across. I'm not moving my upper body to do that. I'm just moving my leg. Then from there, I'm doing this as slow motion as I can. I'm going to just my arm over here. I'm going to lift my pelvis. Right? My abdomen's going to help lift my pelvis. And then I'm going to come over like so. So you could have difficulty with this at any point. And part of it could simply be awareness. Part of it could simply be you need to gain some mobility or stability. But the first piece is this leg lifts. Second piece is this leg comes across. Third piece is this leg, the pelvis lifts. Right? So I'm not moving my joint anymore. My pelvis is lifting. It's between my pelvis and my rib cage. And I'm now coming over. Okay? So do your best not to arch your back or grip anywhere to do this. Okay, so then this is where we go next. So here, we come across, and you just come wherever you can, but make sure there's no strain. There's no strain. I want you to imagine that your toes are drawing an arc on the wall behind you. Now you get to decide what part of this you want to play with, right? So you might be in the place of just lifting the leg and lowering the leg. Or you might be bringing the leg across. Okay. Let's do the other side. So there's another component to this that I'm going to show you in a moment, but we're going to do the other side for now. So lift that leg. Use the gluteal fold. Lift that leg. And now bring the leg across. And take it across like so. Lift the leg, bring it across. Okay, so now we're going to add another part to this. This is where it starts to get a little fun. So what you need to, you now know what the back part looks like, from my hip to my foot looks like. Now we're going to add the arms to this. Now you have to, I have to implore you, you have to decide what makes sense for you. So you choose the level and the joint level that makes the sense for how you feel, okay? So you're going to have these arms facing up towards the sky. This right leg of mine is lifting, and now my head's up because I'm talking to you. You're going to have your head down. This leg's going to lift. It's going to come across your body. Now, see how my pelvis is going, but now watch this hand. This hand is going to start to move over around my head, and it's going to move in concert, and we're going to lie on her back. Okay? Now we're going to come back the other way. You're going to lift the leg up, same right leg. Leg's going to come across the body. We're going to circle around and roll down. Okay, ready? So, leg lifts, leg comes across, you start to circle, arm comes around, and drops. Leg lifts, comes across, circles around, and drops. Now, ideally, you want to have this hand to be, the fingers, to be moving along the floor. Ideally. Now, some of you will be probably around like up here, right? Because you won't be able to drop the hand or like move through the arm and the shoulder to have the hand come to the floor. That's fine. If you can though, then here's another piece is I want you to extend through your neck. So the fingers are going to be on the floor. You're going to extend through the neck. Follow those fingers with your eyes and then down. Then lift that leg again. Bring it across. Find your fingers. Move around. and drop back down. Okay, let's do one more time on this side. Up. Okay, fun? Okay, now we're going to do the other side. So you now know how it goes. Let me start this way so you can grab the side angle. Okay, so lifting the leg, bringing it across, taking it into a twist. Okay, and pay really close attention to this. Now that you know the pieces of this, pay really close attention to how your ribs and your pelvis are moving so that these guys can stay as a unit. See that? Right, I'm not breaking in this area as opposed to like doing something like this or some kind of movement through here. And you don't want to be bracing and pushing off of your bottom leg. You might have to initially, but you want to be lifting, utilizing your abdomen as you're coming around. Okay? Now some people, as they do this, they just really like being here and they stay in this position. They don't flop. It's totally up to you. All right, so let's back it up. Leg lifts, brings it across. Follow the fingers if that's what you're doing, and then lie down. Okay, one more. There we go. Now, if you've got a big enough space, we were just kind of doing one way and then one the other way. If you've got enough big enough space, you can just keep log rolling all the way one way until you get to the other side and then roll all the way back. Lots of people love kind of doing this because it's fun and it's fun. So that's a place where you can play. Okay, last one we're going to do here is we're going to take our legs like so. So we're going to cross the legs and we're going to gently move through your hips like so. Now you don't want to squeeze your legs really tightly together. You're just having them crossed and then gently moving through your hips. And as you're moving, see how my heels are apart? I'm not sort of sliding my hips down that way. I'm sliding them directly in between my heels. Okay. And then other side. All right, lovely. And then come on up and let's finish up with some shoulder mobility and then we'll call it a day. So from here, we're going to take this arm across and then just rotate that arm bone in the shoulder socket. Good. And then other side. Cross the arms. If you can, hook them into eagle. Raise the arms up. And then bring them down. Watch my elbows now. I'm going to gently bring those elbows out. I'm going to straighten them a little. And then back. Okay, and then other side. Arms up. Arms down. Lovely. All right, so now just notice through the rest of your day how your body feels. Come back to rolling around and being on the floor if you need to, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take good care.